Carl Jung once unveiled a chilling truth. A truth about narcissistic souls that most of us are not clear-headed enough to recognize. When they realize they can no longer control you, they don't walk away quietly. They save one final blow. A manipulation disguised as care, remorse, or even love. But beneath it lies a poison meant for your soul. And if you're not fully awake, the entire healing journey you've fought so hard to build over the years can begin to unravel in just a few moments. The terrifying part isn't their behavior, it's that you don't even know you're being led into a trap. Before you can understand the narcissist's final and most insidious tactic, you must first grasp what Carl Jung described as the silent war that takes place in the depths of the human psyche. Jung once said, "What terrifies the narcissist most is not rejection, but the moment their prey becomes mentally strong. They are not afraid of losing you, they are afraid of losing control over you." Based on Jung's study of the shadow, the rejected part of the human psyche, the narcissist maintains the illusion of superiority by projecting their own deepest weakness onto others. As long as you remain fragile, they can manipulate you. But the moment you begin to heal, when you set boundaries, when you refuse to continue playing the lesser role in their drama, a reversal of power occurs. Jung called this an ego reversal crisis, a moment when their mask of control begins to crack. At that point, they no longer see you as a source of emotional supply, but as a living threat, proof that they've lost control of the game. Because a narcissist does not love you in the way you imagine. They extract from you. They don't seek connection, they hunt for dependence. And when you escape that labyrinth, they don't simply let go. They launch a refined counterattack, Jung warned about, a psychological shadow war. They no longer attack your old wounds. They begin targeting the very qualities you've just reclaimed. Once they called you weak. Now they say you're cold. Once they said you weren't good enough. Now they ask, "Who do you think you are? Some kind of saint? You've changed, but not for the better. You used to care. Now you only think about yourself." They say these things not because you're wrong, but because your wholeness reflects the emptiness within themselves. And instead of facing that truth, they project, calling you by names that, deep down, are meant for their own reflection. What's chilling is not the criticism itself, but the precision with which it strikes. Carl Jung observed, "As you begin to awaken, as you reclaim your inner sovereignty, the attacks no longer target your weaknesses. They aim directly at your newly recovered strengths. You learn to set boundaries. They call you cold. You begin speaking the truth. They label you aggressive. You cultivate confidence. They brand you arrogant." Jung called this dynamic shaming your strength, turning the very traits that freed you into reasons for shame. But this is only the beginning. When making you doubt your power no longer works, they move on to their second ace, nostalgic manipulation. They start remembering the old version of you, the one that was easier to manage, more vulnerable, more compliant. "I miss the old you. You used to laugh more. You were happier before all that healing stuff. You used to be so sweet and gentle." According to Jung, this is a subtle form of psychological time travel, a carefully crafted ploy to lure you back into the self they could control. They don't truly miss you. They miss the version of you who lost themselves to please them. And if you're not fully conscious, you may begin to miss that version too, and unconsciously trade away the self you just fought so hard to reclaim. But the most chilling insight from Jung lies here. When both of these tactics fail, the narcissist unleashes their final and most dangerous weapon, manufactured vulnerability. Carl Jung once warned, "The narcissist possesses a unique ability. They know exactly where your compassion still lives, and they will use it against you. Just when you are your strongest and clearest, they suddenly fall apart. A mysterious illness, a financial disaster, a family tragedy, a mental breakdown. At first, it seems accidental. But Jung observed that, in many cases, it's carefully calculated. They know what triggers your guilt. They know the softest spot in your soul, and they know that with the right timing, you'll tear down your own boundaries to come rushing back. This is when your compassion becomes weaponized and turns against the very person who possesses it. The most heartbreaking part? Sometimes their crisis is real, but Jung discovered they always know exactly who to share it with. They could turn to others, They could seek help from other resources, but they choose you. Because they know you are the one most likely to lose yourself trying to save others. So how can you keep your kindness without losing yourself? Carl Jung called this differentiated compassion. It is when you can feel the pain of others, but do not treat their rescue as your own mission. Because not every cry for help is an invitation for you to sacrifice yourself. Jung advises you to pause and ask yourself, does helping them right now make me more honest with myself? Or does it pull me away from the person I am trying to become? The narcissist's trap, as Jung observed, is to lure you back into the role of savior while they are destroying themselves. Not because they want your help, but because they want you back in the easiest position to control. What frightens them is not that you walk away, but that you stay and are no longer easy to manipulate. You don't scream, beg, or soften. You simply stand firm, like someone who sees through all their acts. And that terrifies them, because when you refuse to shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you shine a frightening possibility in their eyes, that a person can live authentically without needing to be accepted. That is why they react so fiercely. But here's what Carl Jung wants you to remember. Each time you refuse to enter the manipulation cycle, each time you hold your boundaries, even in the face of dramatic crises, you are not only protecting your inner well-being, you are exposing the illusion of their power. Because true strength, according to Jung, is not in never being hurt, but in being able to look manipulation in the eye, name it, and still choose to live true to your authentic self. Ultimately, their desperation to regain control is clear evidence that you have stepped out of that cycle. You are no longer the one reacting, you are the one actively choosing. Jung discovered, the very moment you are no longer controlled is also the moment you begin to truly live. And no so-called crisis, no matter how cleverly constructed, is worth trading away that freedom. If you have ever been called too cold, simply because you no longer allow others to violate your boundaries, know that you are not wrong. If you've ever been accused of being selfish, just because for the first time in your life you chose to listen to yourself instead of pleasing others, know that you are growing. Psychological growth always comes with misunderstanding. And once your inner light is ignited, it will not only illuminate the path you walk, but also expose the darkness of those who are not yet ready to face themselves. They may leave, they may react, but do not let that pull you back to your old version, the version that was silent to keep the peace, the version that suffered to keep others around. Carl Jung once said, "No awakening is easy, but it is necessary if you want to live a meaningful life." So if you are in the midst of that journey, amid losses, painful truths, and new beginnings, remember that you are not alone. You are moving closer to your true self. And on that path, any loss, if it happens because you live authentically, is purification, not punishment. If this message touches you, please leave a comment, not just to tell me that you are there, but also to remind yourself, you deserve freedom in your soul.